Good evening, everyone. It's Diane from California Tea and Herbal. I'm so happy that we started this YouTube channel. It's really so much fun, and I hope that you're learning some really basics about teas and enjoying it too. You know, we want to keep these short, so we can go on and on and on, and we can run this up an hour or more, but we want to just get some great basics out there right now. And if you'd like to know more, or if you have questions or comments or suggestions, please put them in the comments below. Now, let's take the subject of Japanese versus Chinese green teas. First, let's say that green doesn't mean that it comes from one country, excuse me, let me move this, from one country or another. It means that the oxidation process has been stopped. So there can be green teas from any tea growing country. It is just a green tea because that oxidation has been stopped. And there are 3 ways to stop it: steaming it, roasting it, or pan firing or pan frying, some people say, and then baking, which isn't as common. So we're going to concentrate on steaming and roasting. Now, why do Japanese and Chinese teas taste differently? And can you tell which is which when you actually take a sip? Well, you really can, and here's how. Japanese teas tend to be more grassy and kind of fresh tasting. Chinese teas tend to be kind of nutty and roasty. Now, there's a reason. One, the climate and the terroir, or where they're grown, the physical growing conditions. Chinese tea tends to grow inland in very high mountainous regions, whereas Japanese tea, since Japan is really island, it tends to be more of a oceanic type of climate. And so it's going to affect, like the weather affects us, and the weather affects our plants, weather and conditions affect the taste of the tea. So we have a tea that's grown in one condition here in China, one condition here in Japan, and now the way that they are processed is also going to make them very distinctively different in taste. Now, most Japanese tea tends to be steamed tea, and most Chinese tea, or a lot of Chinese tea, tends to be the roasted tea. And so right off the bat now, we know that Japanese teas are going to be a little more gentle, let's say, delicate tasting, and that Chinese teas are going to have more of a roasty, warm taste in general. Now, the way that we brew them is going to change because of these things. So for Japanese teas, which are tending to be more delicate, we're going to use cooler water in shorter time. And I recommend, in general, for Japanese green teas, that you use water not over 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and that you don't take that steeping time longer than 2 minutes. That's Japanese teas. Now, for the Chinese teas, I'd recommend you bring the temperature up to about 175, and then you extend the steeping time out to about 2.5 minutes. Some of you might even want to go a little bit longer, but be very careful. We want green tea to come out delicious, and it can be burned, it can be harmed if you do not do it right. It's not as tough as black tea, so you really have to be a little bit more careful, time and temperature. All right, now I'm going to show you a picture next of a Chinese tea, and then I'm going to show you a picture of a Japanese tea, and that one has some rose petals, but you'll be able to see the difference between the way that roasted Chinese tea looks and that steamed Japanese tea looks. So let's take a look at those right now. What did you think? Could you tell the difference? Did they look very different to you? Can you see that if these were teas that we steeped and handed to you, that they would taste different? Trust me, you would know. And after this video, you're going to, every time you get a green tea, you can kind of go, oh, I think that's a roasted Chinese tea, or oh, I think that's a steamed Japanese tea. You know, impress your friends and family because of what you know. It is fun though. And so our next step is to brew these teas. And then I'm going to, I'm going to use what we always use in our family here at home, and that is stainless steel travel tumblers. Why? Because they're insulated, and once that lid goes on, that water stays the perfect temperature throughout the entire brewing process. And in many other ways, many other methods and materials, it can vary. So it's best to keep it at that even temperature. And next, because stainless steel just does not transfer anything from one tea to the next. So I could do a green tea and then I could, you know, just clean this out, swish it with water and do a black tea. There would be no transfers of flavors and so forth from fruit tea kind of blends. That's why we use them. It's very simple to use. So I'm going to go around that side of the kitchen now and show you what these look like once they're steeped and poured out. And so, friends, here we are. And you might be surprised to know that the one on the left is actually the Chinese roasted tea, and the one with the deeper color is the Japanese steamed tea. All right, tea-loving friends, I hope you had as much fun as I did talking about Japanese versus Chinese green teas. And remember, green tea can come from anywhere. India, Argentina, Vietnam, anywhere tea is grown. The US now is growing tea. It has nothing to do with the country. It has to do with when the oxidation is stopped in that tea. So please subscribe. Please give me your suggestions, questions, anything you like in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Thanks again.